And here is the Writer's Almanac for Tuesday. It's the 1st of October, 2013. The first installment of Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert began appearing in a magazine in Paris on this day in 1856. The story of Emma Bovary, unhappy, who has an affair and in the end commits suicide. The French government brought Flaubert to trial on grounds of immorality, and he barely escaped conviction. It's the birthday of author Tim O'Brien, born in Austin, Minnesota, 1946, went to Macalester College in St. Paul, was drafted to go to Vietnam, and even though he was opposed to the war, he still went. Before he went off to Vietnam, he spent the day in northern Minnesota. He had a chance to cross the border into Canada, decided not to. He said, "I did not want people to think badly of me. My conscience told me to run, but I was ashamed of my conscience, ashamed to be doing the right thing." When he got back from Vietnam, he went to work at the Washington Post, wrote a book about Vietnam. If I die in a combat zone, box me up and ship me home. And other books about Vietnam, fiction, Going After Cacciato, July, and The Things They Carried, which came out in 1990. The title story, one of the most anthologized short stories in contemporary American literature, which begins, "First Lieutenant Jimmy Cross carried letters from a girl named Martha, a junior at Mount Sebastian College in New Jersey. They were not love letters, but Lieutenant Cross was hoping, so he kept them folded in plastic at the bottom of his rucksack. In the late afternoon, after a day's march, he would dig his foxhole, wash his hands under a canteen, unwrap the letters, hold them with the tips of his fingers, and spend the last hour of light pretending." It was on this day in 1971 the first CT scan, computed tomography scan, was performed on a patient. Sometimes it's called a CAT scan for computed axial tomography, a scan which produces images of cross-sections or slices of the human body, which enables doctors to examine soft tissues. The first scan was done at Atkinson's Morley's Hospital in London of a woman who had a tumor in her frontal lobe, which the CT scan saw. Here's a poem for today by William Wordsworth, a poem dated September 3rd, 1802, upon Westminster Bridge. Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by a sight so touching in its majesty. This city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning, silent, bare, ships, towers, domes, theaters, and temples lie open unto the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor, valley, rock, or hill. Ne'er saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still. Upon Westminster Bridge, a poem by William Wordsworth. That's the Writer's Almanac, supported by Lending Tree, where you can fill out one form and receive up to 5 loan offers at trylendingtree.com, NMLS 1136. And by Lumosity. Lumosity.com's daily online workouts are designed to improve memory and attention and are dedicated to helping people feel sharper, think faster, and remember more. More at Lumosity.com. Produced by Joy Biles with assistance by Teresa Burgess. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.
This is the Composer's Datebook for October 1st. I'm John Zeck. On today's date in 1768, 2 regiments of British redcoats marched into colonial Boston with colors flying and bayonets fixed, accompanied by martial music provided by the Regimental Wind Band. It was that city's introduction to the exotic sound of massed oboes, bassoons, and French horns. One Bostonian who was very impressed by these new sounds was Josiah Flagg. He was an engraver by trade and a boyhood friend of Boston silversmith Paul Revere. It wasn't long before Flagg had formed his own musical ensemble, which he called the First Band of Boston. Flagg organized the city's first concert series, presenting music by J.C. Bach, Handel, Stamitz, and other European composers of the day. Occasionally, the First Band of Boston was even joined by musicians from the same British regiment that inspired Flagg's musical ambitions in the first place. But in a few years, all that would change. In October of 1773, Flagg presented a gala concert at Boston's Faneuil Hall, which also proved to be his last. He included music from England, excerpts from Handel's Messiah, but closed with his band's rendition of the Song of Liberty, the marching hymn of Boston's patriots. I suspect the British troops did not participate in that concert. Well, soon after, Flagg moved to Providence, where he served as a colonel in the Rhode Island Regiment during the American Revolution, and disappeared from our early musical history. For more on musical revolutionaries, check out our website, composersdatebook.org. Composer's Datebook is a production of APM, American Public Media, and the American Composers Forum, reminding you that all music was once new.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Did you get that, camera guy?
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Tuesday morning. Yours truly, Joe Haffner, here at the controls. And still to come, we'll have Today in History in just a little bit, as well as the CBS World News Roundup, along with In the Marketplace, Morning Report. And right now, though, it's celebrity birthday time. I'm trying to find Today in History for today, and there it is. Right where I left it.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell's the matter with you? Other people have birthdays. Why are we treating yours like a funeral?
Bones, I don't want to be lectured.
Ooh, yeah. Very, very many happy reasons.
And as always, before I run down the brief list of celebrity birthdays for today, if you're celebrating your birthday today, happy birthday. And you share birthdays with these people. President Jimmy Carter is 89. Wow, President Carter is 89. Other celebrity birthdays today, it's a real short list, so I'm stretching this out as much as I can. Randy Quaid is 63. I believe he's still living in Canada, isn't he? And Zach, oh boy, I hope I get this last name right. Zach Galifianakis is 44. Whew! Don't ask me to say that one again. At least not for another year, please. Those are celebrity birthdays for today. Alright? Alrighty then. It's time to go back in time for things besides celebrity birthdays and find out what happened on this date in history. So gather around the time machine. Yes, I know it's a DeLorean. We're going to go back to the year 1888 and find out what happened on this date in history. So are you ready? Okay, close the door. Alright, you closed the door, didn't you? Alright. Now let me turn on the time circuits. On this date, on October 1st, in the year 1888, National Geographic magazine was published for the very first time. You know, I just saw that issue at my doctor's office the other day. That's part of what happened on this date in history. And for the rest of Today in History, we go to the Associated Press for some overmodulated levels.
October 1st, 1908.
There's nothing like a Model T.
Henry Ford rolls out the Model T, succeeding in his quest to build an affordable car for the masses. The price tag for the car, nicknamed the Tin Lizzie, $850 back then, or about $17,000 in today's dollars. 1949. Rise of the first communist state in Asia. Mao Zedong proclaims the People's Republic of China in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, ending years of civil war. That happens after Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government is driven into exile, resettling in what's now Taiwan. 1903. It's play ball in Boston as Game 1 of the first World Series gets underway. The visiting Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Boston Americans 7-3. But the Americans, now known as the Boston Red Sox, win the best-of-9 game series. 1962. Johnny Carson debuts as the host of NBC's The Tonight Show. His reign as TV's king of late night lasts for nearly 30 years. And 1971. Walt Disney World, home of the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and more, opens in Orlando, Florida. Today in History, October 1st. Tim McGuire, The Associated Press.
From Hollywood, it's The Tonight Show. Okay, I won't do it. Anyway, speaking of Johnny Carson, I happen to have that theme available. It's like I knew psychically that they were going to mention Johnny Carson debuting on the state on The Tonight Show in 1962. Anyway, earlier in the program, I was telling you that I'm integrating parts of North Missouri today into this program, First Cup. And one of those elements that I'm going to bring into the program, this is the first of many, is a segment that I liked on when I worked at Quicks Radio, as well as at KRX Radio. Comes from the Missouri Net and the news director, Bob Pretty. Yes, that's his real name. And anyway, Bob Pretty has a segment called Across Our Wide Missouri. Now, I realize this is a regional segment. You know, the rest of the country probably could care less about Missouri history, but I love Missouri history. So in order to preserve part of Missouri history, I'm going to bring you this segment from now on First Cup, called Across Our Wide Missouri. And we'll have that for you. I'll have that for you right after this quick break. So stick around, won't you? You're listening to First Cup, and I'm your host, Joe Haffner.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I might look like an adult, like a person who could possibly be a parent, but I have no idea how to talk like one. And everyone knows that if you want to be a parent, you have to sound good when you say things like, "Don't make me turn this car around," or "Because I said so," or "Don't make me come back there." I don't even really know what those things mean, but I know that I actually believed my parents when they said them to me. How did they manage to sound so convincing? Here we go. "Don't make me come back there." Ugh, no, that's not tough enough at all. Kids can sense weakness. "Don't make me come back there." Ooh, yeah, that's better. In fact, that kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to listen to you practice your dad voice. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is Across Our Wide Missouri with Bob Pretty.
To most of us, legal descriptions of land titles are a confusing mess of numbers. Township 44, Range 11, fractional sections 6, 7, and 8, whole sections 17 and 18, partial sections 19 and 20, lot 455, for example. In layman's language, that's Missouri's capital city. Lot 455 proved to be a key point in an important legal controversy that began with the 11th article of the 1820 state constitution. It called for the first legislature to name 5 commissioners to select 4 sections of land that had not been exposed to public sale. The land had to be on the banks of the Missouri River, not more than 40 miles from the mouth of the Osage. That was going to be the permanent site of the state capital of Missouri.